Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 10 is fast approaching on DraftKings, and I have my top five stacks that I think that you should be looking at for this weekend to help you build your tournament lineups. As we know, as we've identified over the past few years, a stack with a bring back and then utilizing secondary stacks in those lineups without a quarterback has been the easiest path towards winning a tournament, because of the fact that it's easier to be right about two things or three things than it is to be right about 8 different things like you would have to pick one-offs at every position. That does not mean that you can't win a tournament by basically hitting an 8-team parlay plus a defense. You can certainly do that. It's just harder to do than just saying, well, I'm going to pick a quarterback and 2 of his pass catchers. I'm going to take somebody on the other team, because if that game scores 50 or 60 real life points, there's probably going to be a lot of fantasy goodness there. And then I'm going to kind of do the same thing with 2 players from opposing teams as a secondary stack, so that I only have to be right about 2 different game situations as opposed to being right about 7 or 8 different players. It makes your life a lot easier building tournaments, and that's why we do this this video. So thank you guys for being here every week. Week 10, a lot of people are saying, well, fantasy football season's almost over, and for those of you playing season long, it is, but we're basically just reaching the halfway mark in terms of DFS. NFL football for me is a 20-week-a-year job in terms of content. So this is the halfway mark at week 10. We go all the way through the Super Bowl for the final single game showdown of the year. And I appreciate you guys showing up video after video after video. Drop a like here. Let's see if we can't get 1,200 likes or more on this video before kickoff on Sunday. Subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and we have now a join button. If you guys on YouTube wanted to become channel members, you get some of the best emotes that are going to exist on this website, youtube.com. They're already in play for our Twitch subscribers. And as an extra added bonus, there will be a link in the description to our Discord. Make sure that you get in Discord. If you are a channel member, you just have to link your Discord to your YouTube account, and then you get access to all the subs only channels where the communication has really helped make people better players. Our community is now over 4,000 strong in Discord. So there's always people in there to talk DFS with, to try and help you become a better player, whether it's using an optimizer, whether it's building hand lineups, whether you just want to talk about 1v1s and 2v2s. There's always people in there that are like-minded, that are trying to get better at this game every single day. So if you wanted to help support the channel, join and become a channel member and get yourself into Discord. We can really get to know you and help you get better at daily fantasy. So let's get to my top stacks on the week. I'm going to start with Aaron Rodgers. He's been sick this year. I'm going to be right about some things, and I'm going to be wrong about some things. And I was very, very wrong at thinking that Aaron Rodgers was overpriced in the 9th round ADP coming into the season. So I'll take an L on that one. He was in my do not draft list, right? But I think he was the 10th round ADP, right behind Drew Brees in the 8th round. I'm okay with Brees because I felt that there were guys coming later that could basically do what he did, but Aaron Rodgers vastly outperforming his ADP. So that was a miss by me in terms of season long, but in terms of daily fantasy, he's been absolutely outstanding, especially in the games where Davante Adams has been an option. And we have that as an option this week, but he's extremely expensive. But there's a ton of value on this slate. So there's a lot of different ways that you can build lineups. There's going to be cheap running backs. We have a bunch of if-then statements across the board at running back and at wide receiver. We will not know those things right now. It's only Thursday when I'm recording this video. Thursday practice reports, Friday practice reports still yet to come out, and we'll know who's active and inactive before 90 minutes before the slate this weekend. But as it sits right now, there's enough value out there to go with a super premium stack of Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. Something that I don't normally allow, or don't allow for, is the fact that running backs, wide receivers, or running backs pass catchers and quarterbacks don't tend to all go off at the same time. In fact, we did a little bit of research, and over the last 10 or 15 years, only 0.7% of the time has a quarterback, running back, pass catcher stack all scored 25 points or more on DraftKings. So you're putting yourself into a bit of a tight situation, or when you play those stacks, but the ones who have been there have been very predictable. It's been Patrick Mahomes, one of his running backs, it was Kareem Hunt at the time, and one of his pass catchers, whether it was Kelsey or Tyreek Hill. It was Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, multiple times for both of those types of stacks. Some of them were randoms in one-offs. I think Mariota was in one and somebody else was in another, but like typically speaking, it was the ones who you thought it could be, where they're all getting volume at their price. Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown did it multiple times. Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Devontae Adams are in that group for me, but I think that there's more players that we can look at here, and there's some viable bring back stacks on Jacksonville. So we're going to use the Rotogrinders lineup HQ. We're going to go over to team player groups first, go to Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to say use 1 to 2 for basically all these, and we can tweak that. I'm going to apply this rule to all teams. I'm going to cut down our group, because the thing that they do on Rotogrinders is they basically put everybody in the group and then you have to exclude and cut it down. You just kind of trim it like a little bonsai tree down to what you want it to look like. I will allow for Aaron Jones to be in that, but I may limit him in those groups. He is going to be somebody who is going to be heavily played. If you want to leverage off of Aaron Jones, then X him out of this group if you would like. I'm not going to X him out, and this will be one of the rare times that I'm not going to X a quarterback, running back, wide receiver stack out. I will include Tunyon. I will not include him. Sternberger, no. Alan Lazard coming back off of IR. I think that he should be in that group. If Lazard is still out, then MVS gets in this group. I'm not going to include him if Lazard is there. Shepard, Malik Taylor, and I'm probably going to either limit the amount of groups that Aaron Jones can be in, or I'm going to boost him down in this group so that he doesn't pop in every single one of the Aaron Rodgers groups. As we go for a bring back group here, bringing back one player on the other team, use exactly one. Yes, James Robinson is in play for those stacks. Not going to use him. Eifert, for the price that he is, I think that he's fine to come back with. DJ Chark, definitely yes. Keelan Cole, sure, here. And you have to monitor this Laviska Chris Conley situation. If Laviska is out this weekend, then Conley pops. If not, then no. Getting to our second stack, the cover boy, Team Tua. It's Tua time. The Chargers have been a team that reputedly very good on defense, but they've given up a lot of fantasy points, especially because of how many points they're scoring and how many points they're allowing. The 2 games that Tua has started at quarterback, they've averaged over 30 points per game. Now, he hasn't had to do much, only throwing it 50 times across those 2 games. I think that this is going to be a game where they're going to have to open it up a little bit more for him, and we have a consolidated tree of people for him to throw to because Preston Williams is out, and the price that Tua is at, plus the prices that some of his pass catchers are at, are making it extremely interesting for us because, as I said, let's go over and highlight this game. Devontae Parker at 5K is just a little bit too cheap. As far as I'm concerned, let's just assume he throws it 30 times this week and Devontae Parker has 30% of the market share for this one game. That's 9 targets. As I said, Preston Williams on IR. That means more snaps for Jakeem Grant. That's a great picture. If Jakeem Grant has 20% of the market share, that's 6 targets for an absolute speedster. So we get an increased floor with downfield ability against a team that does not really stop people. So if you go with a double stack, you don't even have to go with a double stack, but into a double stack lineups with these 2 wide receivers, you're only spending 13,006 on your double stack, and if they do score, if Tua is responsible for 3 touchdowns and 2 of them go to these guys, Parker and Grant, you're setting yourself up for a monster day everywhere else in this lineup, and there's plenty of guys that we can bring this back with. So let's set up our groups over on Rotogrinders. Going back to team, go to Tua. I'm not going to include the running backs with him in these stacks, whether it's Breida being back or not. I don't care. You can include the tight ends, but there is a need for a touchdown if you include these tight ends in these groups, just because of the way that things kind of shake out. Devontae Parker, I am going to include. I don't know why I just X'd him out. So we're going to include Parker. We're not going to include Merritt. We're not going to include Bowden. We're not going to include Mac Hollins, though you can if you want. But look at the percent played that they're projecting for these guys. Lower than 10% on Parker, 6% that they're projecting here, 5% on Gesicki, 0.1 on Shaheen, who's touchdown or bust for you. I'm going to use exactly 1 to 2 of these players. And talking about our bring back group here, you go down to Tua as well. Now we have a lot of options. Obviously, we're going to monitor the running back situation, and I will allow a running back in this bring back stack, but I'm just not going to allow it right now. for the purposes of making this video. Hunter Henry, under 10% himself, has been very touchdown unlucky this year. Not going to include Johnson. Definitely going to include Keenan Allen. These prices are projected on FanDuel right now, and I don't know if it's going to wreck the thing if I switch, so I don't want to really do that yet. Not going to include Guyton. I'm going to make this very consolidated to these guys. Let's switch to, see if we can switch this to DraftKings if it changes the group, just for price purposes. Or it's not going to change. As always, in the lineup HQ, you can get my best buys that get in there as well. Yeah, I'd have to do this again. So let's put player groups. We just talked about the player groups there. I'm fine with both of those. And you're going to have to do this site dependently, obviously. So let's click back over to FanDuel so that I have it set up for the ones that I want. Because the groups, to me, are going to be the exact same, no matter which one that I use and which one that I don't. But I've got this set up for this thing, so there we go. Ignore the prices for the sake of this video. Josh Allen is going to be, sorry, not Josh Allen, Jared Goff is going to be my third stack on the day. Basically, it's this simple. Stack against Seattle with quarterbacks and pass catchers. You really don't need me to go into all the stats. Seattle's really bad. They allow 60 fantasy points a game to opposing wide receivers, which is by far the most in the league. They allow multiple touchdowns or 300-yard passing games, which gets you the bonus on DraftKings, not on FanDuel, but we have massive upside every single time that a quarterback plays against Seattle. And we have 3 wide receivers that you can, with confidence, stack along with Jared Goff, because Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Reynolds are playing the majority of the snaps. Cooper Kupp playing like 25% of the time in the slot. When he lines up in the slot, he gets a 30% market share, one of the league leaders, top 10 in the league in terms of target percentage. Robert Woods has scored way more touchdowns, but touchdowns are a little bit fluky. Not that he's not a good player, but like saying, well, he's scoring more touchdowns than Kupp this year, so therefore he's the preferred guy. No, he's just been on the end of more touchdown passes, but the underlying things, red zone targets, end zone targets, don't necessarily point to there being a shift in the way that the Rams do things. Where there has been a shift with the Rams is at tight end, where they're not letting the tight ends get out into the route as much. They're using a lot of max protect. They're keeping their tight ends in on passing downs because their offensive line has struggled a little bit and they need more time for Goff. So neither one of these tight ends, whether it's Higbee or Everett, is running over 45% of routes per dropback. So they're a little bit thin in terms of the volume that they get on a week in, week out basis. You can see over the last month, Tyler Higbee has not seen, or last 4 games, Tyler Higbee has not seen over 4 targets in a game. We saw a breakout against Miami from Gerald Everett where he saw 9 targets in that game, but every other game, nothing over 4 or 5 for him. So these are spots where, yeah, you're probably going to include them in your groups for stacking with Jared Goff, but it's not something that I really want to go overboard with. I'd rather stick to the wide receivers and then have a sprinkle of either Higbee or Everett, with Everett looking like he is maybe taking over the lead job there. But I'm going to probably try and focus on these 3 wide receivers because that's the easiest spot for volume, yards, and possible touchdowns. As we bring this back, I know that the Rams have been extremely tough against opposing wide receivers. And Ramsey has not really been somebody who has shadowed a ton. So they have not allowed one single wide receiver to score over 20 DraftKings points this year. However, Seattle might just be a different animal. And DK Metcalf lining up on the outside, facing those outside guys, is probably somebody who's, I do want to include more in this group, is going to be one of those guys who is going to see those outside targets way more than Lockett, who plays more than him in the slot. We do have to monitor the running backs in this situation. Carson, I expect to still be out. We don't know if Homer is going to be at full speed or Carlos Hyde, so that's going to affect whether or not you want to play DJ Dallas. I will include one of these guys, or if Carson is the back and the lead dog with his sprained foot or mid-foot sprain, I'll include them. But for the sake of this video, because we know what we know right now, this is where I'm going to focus with this group, is on the pass catchers, probably focusing on Tyler Lockett the most, and then coming in with DK Metcalf. If you think that one of them, people have asked me, well, which one do you like this week? Which one do you not like? The best tournament play between the 2 Seattle wide receivers on a week in, week out basis is usually the one that you project to be played less in tournaments. So Right now, if Metcalf is projected to be the one who is lower played, reversing the field and having some Lockett but double the Metcalf of the Lockett that you play is probably the sharper tournament play, because either one can go off for a long touchdown, especially in a game where Russ should have to drop back 40 or 45 plus times because of the expected point output in this game. Now moving on to Josh Allen and all the guys that he has done well with on this team. We've seen ups and downs from him on the year. He posted a 40-point game against Seattle. Clearly it's Seattle, but also first 4 weeks of the season, 33, 37, 36, 25. We've seen the down month from weeks 5 through 8 where he posted 13, 20, 16, 18. I don't care about floor when it comes to tournaments. I care about possible upside. And this game against Arizona presents an up-paced situation for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, playing on the road against a very potent offense that should be able to attack the vulnerable spots on this Buffalo defense and put up points. And with Buffalo playing presumably more snaps than they did in previous weeks, that means that Steph Diggs, John Brown, both in play. If you want to play the pick a random tight end for Josh Allen to throw to, because he just seems to throw random touchdowns to his tight ends, I'm fine with that. If you want to use Kyler Murray in stacks, I'm fine with that. Speaking of the Rams game with Russ Wilson, if you want to use Russ Wilson in stacks, I'm fine with that. I'm not saying that they're not playable, but I'm only going to really talk about 5 in depth. I am not going to include the running backs in this group. I'll probably allow the tight ends to be in these lineups because they do have touchdown upside and they are very cheap and are not going to be very played at all. Not going to include Beasley in this group. Not going to include Davis. Basically going to stick to 1 or 2 of this group right here. Talking about an opponent bring back group. We have a lot of good plays on the other side. Depending on which one of Chase Edmonds or Kenyon Drake is in, you can play either one. Just pay attention to the injury reports. Not going to include him, not going to include him, not going to include him. Yes, going to include Christian Kirk, who has seen way more volume recently. Sherfeld, Larry Fitzgerald. If you want to attack Buffalo with slot guys, go ahead, but I think that there's not very much ceiling with Larry Fitzgerald unless he finds his way into the end zone. They're focusing everything on Hopkins and Kirk on the outside, and rightfully so. They're the better athletes at this point in their career. There is room for some Larry Fitz, but because of the matchup possibility, but it's a little bit, there's probably no chance for like a 25 plus point day from Larry Fitzgerald on DraftKings. My final quarterback for this stacks video is going to be Justin Herbert, who's been absolutely outstanding for the Los Angeles Chargers, squaring off against Miami, who's been a surprisingly tough defense. They are traveling across the country, but this is going to be an afternoon game, so you don't have to worry about the Chargers clocks being put off. Yes, they are going to be traveling a long way, but it's definitely doable. How many times does he have to throw the ball? Over 40 times, knowing who we can definitely pair him with in these stacks, and all of those players are still underpriced. So going over to Rotogrinders lineup HQ, building our team player group around Herbert. Not going to include running backs at all in this group. Definitely going to include Henry. Not going to include Parham in his one fade route a week. Johnson, no. Mike Williams, sure, even though he's redacted. Guyton, Reed, this is where I'm going to be, and I'm probably going to include 1 or 2 and probably lean towards exactly 2 of those guys. And then building our bring back group. You can include running backs. I don't know who I'm going to include yet. It depends on Breida's health, to be very honest with you. Will include Gesicki, will include Shaheen. Definitely going to include Jakeem Grant in this one. I'm probably going to limit to 1 of these players as a bring back group, but that's about the way that we're going to do it. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to go check out Rotogrinders, go to rotogrinders.com/smizzlife. There's a link down below in the description if you want to go check them out on a 1-week subscription, so you can play the Thursday night game, the Sunday night slate, the Sunday night showdown, and the Monday night showdown. Great tools and content over at rotogrinders.com, and thanks for them partnering with us here on the channel. Other than that, we'll see you guys later. Look for another video right there.
He's a legend.